So the way that you've been taught to mow the lawn as far as how tall to mow it, you've actually been taught wrong, and most of it is my fault. So today, we're gonna clear it all up. So here I am sitting in my beautiful fat St. Augustine grass over by there, and you can see it's well overgrown. It's time to mow it. And so this comes up to the question, how tall do I mow the grass? And typically what I would tell you for St. Augustine grass, mow it as tall as you can, so 4 inches or more. On the flip side, this is my zoysia grass, and I've been mowing this at 1 3/8 inches, but I've always taught you 2 inches or less. Same with Bermuda grass, 2 inches or less, or if you can, get it down sub 1 inch. Then you have some stragglers there in the middle, centipede grass, 2.5 to 3, Bahia grass. And of course, I don't want to forget about my friends with cool season grass. That's turf type tall fescue, perennial ryegrass, and Kentucky blue. You guys should mow somewhere around 3.5 to 4. But just mowing heights alone, it doesn't actually give you enough information. There's one rule that you really need to understand, and it actually trumps the mowing height, and that is called the 1/3 rule. Okay, so I have a grass blade here, and got my tape measure, and you can see this grass blade, look at that, exactly 6 inches long. Now, I would tell your wife that that's 8 inches, but that's between you and her. You can see what you don't want to do now is cut off more than 1/3 of this grass blade. That is the 1/3 rule. And because I have this perfect 6 inches, 1/3 of that is 2 inches. So I could actually cut off 2 inches in height, and I will be within the 1/3 rule. And the reason that you do that is because the grass can handle that. If you cut off any more, especially if you get down here into the meat, you're gonna really hurt it, like cutting yourself off at the knees. But think of this 1/3 cut as like getting a nice little trim on your nails. It doesn't hurt anything, it's actually healthy. All right, so here's a grass blade that's been cut. So it was up there, I took off the 2 inches, and you can see what's left. Now, notice there's a lot of green meat left there, and that is because this grass still needs to grab sunlight. It still needs to photosynthesize. It still needs to do its job. And so that's why we need to leave some leaf surface so that the grass can still grow healthy. And that's what the 1/3 rule does, is it leaves you with plenty of green to still grab sunlight so the grass can continue to grow in a healthy manner. And so that's the rule right there, is never remove more than 1/3 of the grass blade's length in a single mowing. What that does is it kind of takes all that mowing height out of the equation. All right, so you can see here for me, this is pretty cut and dry, right? My grass is 6 inches long. The top setting on my mower is 4 inches. I'm gonna take off 2. I'm well within the 1/3 rule. I'm good to go. But let's say that I had let this go a little bit too long and it grew longer, and I was gonna need to break the 1/3 rule because I couldn't cut any taller. Well, that means then that you need to pick up your mowing frequency. All right, now there are times when you're gonna have to break the 1/3 rule. You can see here, this piece of St. Augustine grass is severely overgrown. It's 9 inches long. All right, I think this one's gonna work.
That's pretty long.
That's what she said.
Now my mower only goes to 4 inches tops, so there's no way that I could stay within the 1/3 rule. So I'm gonna have to break that off, and I'm outside of the 1/3 rule. However, you can see there's plenty of still green meat left here. So I'm not really hurting anything, but you don't want to make a habit of this. But it's going to happen. You're going to go on vacation, it's going to rain, things are going to get away from you, and you are going to have to break the 1/3 rule. So just know it's okay to do it every once in a while, as long as you still have plenty of green meat left here, and then get on top of your mowing from there on out, and don't let this happen too often. In order to stay within that 1/3 rule, you're going to need to mow more often, which is why I tell people to sometimes, especially in the heart of the growing season, you have to mow twice a week. Now, another thing that might come up is people say, well, what if I wanted to mow my grass, in this case, St. Augustine, a little lower than 4? What if I wanted to go to 3? You could do that and you would be fine. You just, again, need to stay within that 1/3 rule. And because this grass grows so fast, especially in the summer, you might have to mow every 2 or 3 days in order to keep within that 1/3 rule of never removing 1/3 of the grass blade in a single mowing. All right, now this section of my St. Augustine grass, I've actually broken the rule. The last time I mowed here, I set the Ego mower down 2 notches, which brings it to a 3-inch cut height. It's been a few days since I've mowed, so these grass blades are now 4 inches long. You can see there's plenty of meat there. I'm gonna come in and cut today. I'm gonna remove 1/3, which is 1 inch, and I still have plenty of green meat left. And now I'm down at 3 inches. Now, could you go even lower? You could. Just always keep in mind that you don't wanna cut too much into that green meat, and then follow the 1/3 rule once you reset your height. Now, I will recommend with St. Augustine grass that you don't try to push it too much lower than the 3-inch mark, but that's how you would do it if you did want to mow a little bit lower. Now, the thing I want to keep stressing is no matter if you're mowing tall or you're trying to mow a little bit lower, When you get to the rainy season, this grass is gonna grow really fast. So what you're gonna have to do to keep your height, wherever you decide to keep it, is you're gonna have to mow more often. Increasing the mowing frequency is really the most important part to stay within the 1/3 rule, not necessarily the height. So just keep that in mind. I keep stressing it. Repetition is the key to learning. It's about mowing more often. Mowing frequency is truly what matters, and not necessarily the height. Just follow that 1/3 rule. You've also seen people online that take their grass like their Kentucky bluegrass and they real low it, and they'll go down less than 1 inch. That actually seems like, oh my gosh, they're breaking all the rules, and they are, and I have great respect for that. But what you have to understand is, for them to stay within the 1/3 rule on that really short grass, they don't have a lot of forgiveness. So some of them have to mow every single day in order to keep up, or use chemicals that slow the rate of the growth of the grass down. Either way, as long as you're staying within that 1/3 rule, everything is gonna be good. Okay, now this is Bermuda grass, and this is mowed at, I don't know, way less than 1 inch. And I wanna illustrate this because I'll show you that this grass stays within the 1/3 rule as well. So when I pick it, you can kind of see we don't have a lot of forgiveness here. We have, what is that, like a 1/2 inch, 1/3 of an inch? That's all we really have. So you can imagine the 1/3 rule here is really tough to stay within. And the reason it's tough is because you have to mow so often. I keep mentioning that. You have to mow so often because you don't have a lot of forgiveness here. Well, this lawn is mowed with a robot mower, and it's mowed every single day. And so that's why it's able to be kept this low and stay within the 1/3 rule, because that grass, no matter how fast it grows, it's cut every single day, stays within the 1/3 rule. And what that does is it makes it knit really tight and really low to the ground. So that's just an example of another extreme of Bermuda grass being mowed super, super low, but still staying within that 1/3 rule by mowing every single day. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. Hopefully it hasn't caused more confusion. Stay within the 1/3 rule and your grass is gonna be great. With that, I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, reminding you to enjoy the mow, and I'll see you in the lawn.